Hello and welcome to the Women's Workshop podcast. I'm Ella, the founder of the Women's Workshop, and this is my co-host and partner, Imi.
Hi, I'm Imi. I am a musician, so yeah, I do know a bit about
art. So last week, we interviewed Rianne, who was absolutely amazing. She's a fine art artist and also an illustrator. So if you want to check her out, it's at @herons_art. We've shared her on the Women's Workshop Hall of Fame. She was the first of our interviewees to put herself into the Hall of Fame, which I must say is just iconic.
Oh, back yourself, and Rianne does nothing but back herself.
Yeah, exactly. So announcement-wise, we have an ongoing competition, which I don't think we currently have a deadline for it?
No, it's just until we have enough entries.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you want to enter, it's about what does feminism mean to you, or what does being a woman in the arts mean to you, sort of up for an interpretation. You can do it in any medium you like, and the winner will be commissioned by us to design our podcast logo. So please do enter. You can do whatever you like. It's a completely interpretive piece, so it's completely up to you what you make it.
Yeah, currently we've got one entry and it is really beautiful. So make sure that your entry, if you do enter, is beautiful too.
Yeah, the bar is high. So today we will be interviewing the lovely Lucy, also known as Lulaf0rtune on Instagram. We've actually met Lucy before at one of our networking events, but today we'll be talking to her about her illustration and her art practice. So yeah, should be very exciting. So stick around.
Definitely. Is it? I have nothing to add to any thing. So should we just jump into the interview?
I think let's just jump straight in. Okay, enjoy. Hi Lucy, welcome to the Women's Workshop podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi there, not bad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How have you been doing during lockdown? How's it been going for you?
I guess the same as everyone. It's been a kind of stressful to the point of whiplash, yet boring. I work in healthcare, just in admin, but I work at a hospital. So for quite a lot of it, things just kind of plodded along as normal, but without any kind of socializing or pubs, which isn't really what I wanted at all.
Yeah.
And it's very nice to finally feel like we're coming out of it, even though cases are going up, fatalities are going down, hospitalizations are going down, and along with it becoming summer, it just sort of feels like things are going back to normal.
Yeah. Yeah, how are you feeling going back to socializing and being with people again? Are you enjoying it?
Yes, I don't know if you guys have had the same thing though. I've become kind of agoraphobic. Is that it with crowds? I never used to be bothered by crowds, but now if I'm in a crowded pub or I'm on the high street and there's a lot of people around, it's suddenly very overwhelming. I never had that before. I think that's quite common.
Yeah,
anyway.
100%. I feel like I've just stopped liking people as much. I used to be really social, and I do like socializing in small doses, but I just think because it's been such a long time where we've just been inside and used to our daily routines of going about the house and making cups of tea and waiting for Amazon packages. I feel like now everything's going back to normal. It's lovely, but it's I have to ease myself back into it because it's just all a bit weird now.
Yeah. You don't talk to people you're not very intimate with. I'm used to only speaking to my partner or my very best friends and just chatting absolute nonsense, conversations that are mostly in jokes. And then when you try and talk to somebody in a more normal, accessible way, you kind of fall a bit flat sometimes.
It's been such a fucking weird year.
Yeah, on that, we'll go into our first question proper. Mm-hmm. Tell us a bit about your art history.
I think a lot of people who are just generally into drawing, I've always been into scribbling and doodling and stuff. And then I did study it for GCSE and A-level just because it seemed like it might be an easy grade. But it's one of those things where for me, it's it's been like a hobby that I've done on and off throughout my life. So I'll kind of go through a phase where I almost ditch it, and the free time I have will be more about writing short stories or playing video games. And then something or other, sometimes it's a movie, sometimes it's another artist, will kind of just suck you back in. Or sometimes, like what's happened with a lot of people now, you just have a lot of free time. And I guess the thing that kind of got me back into drawing this time was because of lockdown, a lot of other people who were into drawing and arts reaching out and sort of saying, we'll do these groups, we'll do these challenges. I mean, essentially what this is here. But I think just having that prompt and having people around you to inspire you kind of, you know, sort of forces you to do it when otherwise you might have been maybe even a bit scared to.
Yeah. Do you think you sort of do you consider yourself to be more of sort of like a hobby artist rather than wanting to sort of pursue it as a career?
Yeah, definitely. I'm one of those people that if I have to do something, I'll just hate it, no matter how wonderful. Even if I was somehow given a job and it was just like, you know, produce this many paintings a day, it can be whatever you want, I'd find a way to hate it. That's just sort of my nature. But like, yeah, I think for me, it's a hobby, it's a way to pass time, and it's also just a way of engaging with media you love. Because one of the few things I do kind of struggle with and gives me anxiety about art is that I'm awful for getting quite a chunk of a way through a project and then just seeing something else I like, and rather than being inspired, just thinking, I wish I'd done that. Like, I want to delete what I'm doing and start again and just copy it line for line or word for word, whichever it is, which isn't like a very productive or helpful thing to think, but I think when you're that moved by something else, it can be a bit irresistible.
Yeah, I totally feel that. I'll get halfway through a song, or I'll get to the point where I need to add lyrics to it, and I'm like, I'll listen to something and be like, well, there's no point. Somebody's already got what I want to get across. So
yeah, I think especially on social media, like there's so much comparison. Like I'm trying to be a lot more now like, oh, I support this person because they're amazing and talented at what they do. But sometimes I'll look at them and be like, this fucking bitch, why are they so good at it? I think it's just that constant cycle of sort of wanting, like having a vision in your head of what you want to achieve and then seeing someone else do it and you're like, oh, fuck, they've already done it.
I think as well, like just, I think I boiled it down to like, it's not the image I want to copy, it's the feeling, you know, like it kind of reminds me of that kind of stereotype of how sometimes like sort of heterosexual teenage girls will kind of maybe feel like they're having a bit of a lesbian crush, and you eventually figure out, you know, it's that I want to be you, it's that I want to sort of have that, you know, elicit that response, you know.
Yeah, no, I completely get that, because I've always like, I think I've said this in so many podcasts, but I literally just adore women, like all women. I just always see women, I'm like, oh, they're so beautiful, they're so talented, they're so strong, they're so this. And then sometimes I've been like, am I attracted to them? But I don't think I am. I think it's just because like, I'm so impressed by them that I just want to like live audaciously through them.
Yeah, that sort of like I want to be thing very much. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I am transgender.
I think you might have mentioned that a few times.
Right. And I'm also a lesbian, so it's sort of like, am I attracted to you? Do I just want to be you? It's very much like the fucking curveball to end of curveballs.
I mean, yeah, I guess another way of looking at it is that sort of admiration and attraction is its own thing and its own sort of not force. That makes it sound very mystical, but you see what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same with, I think there is a difference between admiration and attraction. I think you can be attracted to someone you admire, but I think you can also admire someone without being attracted to them. I mean, it's like trying to think of like an example of celebrity crushes I've had where I've thought like they're really beautiful or like I really admire them, but I don't really want to have sex with them. Yeah. Maybe like Johnny Depp. Like I did used to have a massive crush on like young Johnny Depp, but he's a sort of like, I don't know, I feel like he's almost too sculpted. Like when he was younger, I feel like he's too perfect. Like I'm not sure I'd actually want to be with him, but he's just like
too much of a boozer as well. Old Johnny Depp.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel
the
like
opposite of all that. Like someone I really admire but have no attraction to at all. Steve Buscemi.
That's a good one.
He's a
Who?
fantastic actor. Steve Buscemi. He
He's
played Randall.
Donnie in. Sorry, carry on.
He's played Randall in Monsters Inc.
how
I didn't know that.
I don't know what he looks like in real life though.
Have
He's
you watched-
Donnie in Big Lebowski, the guy they're always telling to shut up.
Oh yes. Oh okay, right, yeah.
None of that. Like I watched him in Con Air and was genuinely frightened by him. And then, but he's not a looker, is he? God bless him.
It's like there's like this sort of thing going around now, which is like ugly, beautiful people.
Yeah.
Like I think Adam Driver was used as an example. Adam, he's in
Kylo Ren.
Klansman and Girls.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
I've never seen him in a film. I've just seen posts going around on the internet of people debating whether he's attractive or not. Which I guess proves your point.
Yeah, I think he's attractive, but he does look like, I don't know how to describe it. He looks like somebody he looks like an incel.
A
I was
what?
going to say he looks like a bootleg Alan Rickman to me.
He's like a fit incel.
Oh my god, yeah, kind of. Have you ever seen the film Galaxy Quest?
I haven't. Yeah, I know the one.
Yeah, I feel like Alan Rickman was like weirdly kind of attractive in that film, but I don't know, not in like an obvious way. Just maybe it was just like the weird alien cap he had on, but I was like, Alan Rickman, you've got it going on.
So those were the kinds of people, like when I was way younger, like that was the sort of look and vibe I'd be attracted to for like fan art. I always used to find actors that kind of had that sort of almost craggy look just because they were like more interesting to draw. I did a horrible job. It was like uncanny valley, but very fun.
Well, looping back to the art question, how do you think you'd actually describe your sort of artistic style when you do create things?
I guess it's evolved quite slowly because like I was saying, between it being a hobby rather than something I pursue really seriously and my like awful attention span and envy, it's evolved kind of relatively fast compared to how much actual practice and effort I put in. So this time sort of 5 years ago when I was starting to get into drawing art again, I would just draw ink drawings of birds because I love birds and I had pen and ink with me all the time and I thought they were pretty. And it's sort of very slowly transmorphed into mostly kind of digital work, often with a slightly uncanny or body horror element to it. And just because those are the things that I think are pretty and the things that fascinate me and the art and draw me to other people's art. So yeah, stylistically just a mishmash really, I'd say.
Yeah, you talked about that you did like writing as well. Do you have like a particular writing style?
I guess so. I do a lot of short stories, kind of tackle the same subject matter as most of my art. Most of them tend to be have a horror element, like something about them to do with existential horror or body horror, but not just like, something out and out like Clive Barker or whatever. I guess I'd say they kind of, it's such a cliche, but they have that kind of Kafkaesque, like aggressive mundanity thing, or at least that's what I try to do. And those are the kind of stories I like.
Cool, that's actually really cool. I was just quickly Googling, there's a video game that I played recently where you like watch your own surgery, like you watch your body getting cut off and like bits being screwed onto you, and I feel like that's sort of what you're getting at with the
What's
whole body
it
horror.
called?
I have no idea.
That sounds so
It's a
familiar.
sci-fi game. I tried to Google it, but it's like literally just Googling game where you watch your surgery doesn't help. It's brought up some weird shit.
I've often thought that if I had something like surgery or cesarean, I don't have the guts to watch it while it's happening, but I would love to have it recorded and go back and see it afterwards. Because another thing that really fascinates me is a medical illustration. because obviously that was a scientific resource for such a long time, but now it's just like this pretty thing, like because there's something about it, something that's really technically well drawn, even if it was just like of syphilitic skin from the 1800s. Like there is something kind of pretty about it, and the way they'd kind of exaggerate all of the kind of colors and textures so it could be used as like a medical resource. It's quite cool.
Have you ever watched Bob?
Sorry? Oh, is that the surgery one? Plastic surgery?
Yeah, I fucking love that TV show.
Ooh.
I thought
haven't.
you hated surgery, squeamish stuff.
I do, but it's like compelling viewing. I've got to look at it.
Well, I mentioned her last week, but have you ever heard of Orlan Lucy?
No, I've got
Oh
a
my
million
god,
tabs.
you would love her if you're into like body horror and like medical surgery.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she literally uses herself as an art piece, and she actually gets plastic surgery to sort of distort her face and make her look like alien-like, but she also films all of her surgeries and then like releases them as like art projects.
Oh, that's really cool. So I'm just skimming through pictures of it now. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what do you call it? Not cybernetics, but you know, there's kind of like a lot of art right now where people will kind of implant things into themselves, whether they're electronic or cosmetic, and kind of get really involved in that way.
Yeah, body mods.
Body mods, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love I love people who do prosthetic makeup, but you know, like really cool gory stuff. Like I've been watching sort of guiltily, I've been watching Glow Up. I've literally binged all of the seasons. Have you watched it?
No, I've not heard of that one actually.
I've not watched it, but I've watched Trixie and Katia watching it.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's just like makeup artists competing to be like the best makeup artists in the business, but some of them do such cool stuff, like proper like prosthetics and like futuristic-y makeup stuff and gore, and like, yeah, I find all that stuff so interesting. I really like performative art stuff, you know, where people do body horror but literally on themselves. I love that.
Any current trends in illustration that you like the look of, want to try or anything, or?
It's not exactly a trend, because I don't know. I don't think I follow illustration quite closely enough to be able to pick up on trends. But I do like, I'm seeing more people use 3D models to make kind of 2D images. Like they'll use Blender to make a bunch almost of sculptures, arrange them, and either, you know, color it all in Engine or do that on Photoshop. And I think that's a really cool way of working. I have tried using kind of 3D modeling type software before. I've used DAZ, I've used Blender. It's a lot for me to get my head around. I mostly just use it to make doors in The Sims, and I don't do that very well. But I would like to get more practice with that, because I think there's just like a lot, especially if you're like combining it with traditional artwork, there's just like a lot more sort of possibilities, and like it's very good for getting like that kind of uncanny, almost sort of dirty vibe to your images.
You should chat to former podcast guest Dominica.
Oh, yeah?
She does lots of AR work, so like you might be able to get in. She might be able to teach you a little bit.
Oh, that would be cool. As long as she's very patient.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's so nice. She literally does the most incredible like digital artworks. And when we spoke to her, she was talking about how she set herself a challenge to like create a piece of digital artwork like every single day for like a year or something. And she just does these incredible like sort of, don't know how to describe them, almost like semi-psychedelic-y explosions of like digital stuff.
Gore. That's how I describe it. She does like software gore mixed with real life.
Oh, that's cool.
It's
like
very
that.
cool.
Also, this is like a new segment apparently, in me trying to get sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare, please sponsor me. Skillshare has some really good classes on Blender.
Oh, okay. I will see that the thing is, I'm really bad for like when I get a new piece of software. I don't know if you guys do this. Like, I know the thing I should do is like go on somewhere like Skillshare or even YouTube and watch a load of tutorials. But my instinct is to just go on and fuck around.
Oh yeah, I do that too.
And I sometimes do that so long that I learn loads of dumb, wrong ways of doing things that I then have to unlearn. So that's definitely something to do. That's actually a useful way to spend time.
I sometimes think that is the best way to do it. Like learning, but there's definitely something to be said about learning just by doing it. Like when you do fuck around, you might learn like the wrong ways to do it, but at least like you're doing it.
You have something to work from, I guess.
Yeah, but it's so hard learning a new software. I mean, I'm not very good with softwares. I'm like very limited in like Photoshop and InDesign and stuff because we like did a little bit of it at uni, but not in great depth because it was like a very broad course. But like I remember first opening up the software and being like, oh, this looks fine. Where the fuck is the crop button? Shit, how do I crop this? And like it's just there's so many buttons and there's so many like crazy things you can do as well, which are all hidden in all like the different segments of the software. Like sometimes I think it's a bit overwhelming to try and learn how to do it.
Definitely, I think that's why Procreate took off so well, because it's like as powerful as Photoshop, but it's just not scary.
I think any software, even when you download like an app on your phone, like if you don't know how to do it, it's still quite difficult to do. But I think that's why things are trying to be made like a lot more user friendly. That's why like now you can like build websites on like website builders and things. But we do like Facebook advertising and stuff at work, and literally I don't know what the fuck Mark Zuckerberg was thinking when he built the back end of Facebook, but it's actually horrific. It's the most unuser friendly thing you've ever seen. It's just so confusing. Like it just links out to a billion different things, like nothing's clear, you don't know where anything is, you have to get like permission from your own pages to send to each other, and like it's just absolutely horrible. But I think things are becoming, especially in terms of design software, is becoming more user-friendly because they know how many people are interested in it, so it's becoming easier to use.
Right, do you want to talk about not user-friendly? Did you ever use Tumblr?
No,
I never posted on it, and then I left when they got rid of all the porn. Rest in peace.
You've got Reddit now though, so
Tumblr had this thing like in 2013 where when people added notes to posts, it just got longer and longer and more distorted.
Oh yeah, you see screen caps where it's like narrowed down into nothing.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to fucking read.
No, I was never of the Tumblr generation. What actually was Tumblr? Because I genuinely don't know what it was. Like, what was it?
It's just basically Blogger, but for teenage girls. And people
and with a strong kind of image, but actually maybe not. I was going to say it's more for images, but I think it maybe evolved that way and started off as more of just a blog.
Yeah. Now they've got rid of the porn. It's just a fucking hellscape of in-jokes.
Yeah. Most of them about how the porn's gone.
Yeah. Or about Supernatural for some fucking reason.
What, Supernatural the show or Supernatural like the general topic?
The show.
It was always really closely affiliated with fandoms, which was quite interesting.
Yeah, and now that's all moved to Discord.
But anyway, what sort of are there any styles or aesthetics you've wanted to sort of venture into in your artwork? Anything you've seen that you like that you've wanted to replicate or try out?
Yeah, I mean, I think I spoke about this artist before, but like you know when you have this feeling you might be good at something but you just never quite put in the time. I'm a big fan of like Junji Ito, and it's body horror, but it's that kind of manga style. So he does these very dense illustrations with like cross hatcheting and like and to sort of get the horror across, you also have to draw people very kind of perfectly in proportion when they're not being sort of twisted and mutilated, so that it sort of gives you that uncanny feeling. So I've always wanted to do something like that, just like illustrations with a lot more kind of detail, probably in like black and white or something.
Nice. I remember reading manga when I was a bit younger, and like some of the absolutely disturbing images that I seen. Like, I remember I read a Naruto manga, and it was like full on Sasuke with a knife through his hand, and I was like, oh god, that's graphic. Yeah,
I think because like I don't know if it was the same for you, but like where I lived at the comic book shops, because it just wasn't English, you could buy a lot more explicit, both sexually and gore-wise, like manga than you could comic books.
Yeah.
I remember just buying porn. You could get yaoi, and they'd give it to you if you were 12.
Oh yeah,
it didn't really matter.
They sell proper doshini in real comic book, and I was like, fuck me, this is just actual porn.
I think it's really interesting how there's two completely different ends of the spectrum in terms of like Asian media. So it's either like really hypersexual or like no reference to sex at all and like super sort of innocent.
I mean, I guess the only thing I'd say is that like I think maybe those are the things that export best, perhaps.
Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure. That's just kind of my gut feeling when things seem to be boiled down in that way, but they're like from another culture. I'm not really sure though, but I think it's interesting because yeah, you've got kind of I don't know, like Masahiro Ito one end and Hello Kitty the other is sort of how it seems from the outside.
Yeah,
there's not much of a cross section between tentacle play and Pokemon.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some pretty tentacly Pokemon.
There is a TikTok series saying, which is called "Rating the Pokemon That You Want to Bang."
Oh, they should do that with Digimon. They'd get so much mileage.
I'm gonna flash a picture of Angelwomon up on the screen now and just be like, there's proof that I'm a lesbian.
Yeah, no, I remember watching like Studio Ghibli movies, and they're always like obviously like very innocent because they're often written like from the perspective of like children and stuff. But I remember there was one which was The Wind Rises, and it's the only film where there's like any reference to like sex or like kissing. Like I don't think there's any kissing in any of the films apart from The Wind Rises. But and it was literally just like she just like opens up her duvet and then like the scene cuts. But I just remember watching it and being like, oh my god, Hayao Miyazaki. But no, I love everything like manga and anime. Like I'd love to be able to draw manga. I think it is something you can teach yourself. I haven't had the discipline or given myself the time to do it.
Well, the other thing is I have relative confidence that with enough effort and time I could do a very impressive kind of large manga panel. It's a very different thing doing actual sequential art in that style with all that detail. Like I've got friends that make comic books and just them showing me all of the rough line work to just get things looking vaguely consistent. It just kind of melts my mind. I couldn't do it.
I bet it's hell on earth.
Especially if you're doing actual like animations, like the ones that still draw all of their animations. Like I'm just like, I know that they have loads of people working for them and like drawing them, but I'm like, still, how many like images must you have to make that animation, like in so much detail as well?
And that's why the animation is so beautiful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I remember you telling me that your favorite Studio Ghibli film was Princess
Kawa.
Okay, yeah, you say it because I butcher the pronunciation. Yeah, but I didn't actually like that one. Like I did think the animation was beautiful, that it was beautifully drawn. I just didn't really like it.
Yeah.
There's actually, I've never even heard of that one.
It's a recent one. I think it was 2015 it came out.
That was
Princess Kaguya.
Like,
oh wow, that looks so different.
Yeah, it is.
Reminds me of like, what was it? My Neighbours, someone or other, an earlier one of theirs. That's cool.
But they did recently do a CGI film, which I think they've just released, and I'm not totally convinced. I'm just like, why would you go CGI when it looks so beautiful drawn?
Yeah.
Because it's quicker.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like, I don't know. I think they're trying to do something different because it's Hayao Miyazaki's son, so I think he's trying to sort of prove himself and do something bold and different. But I don't know. And I'm totally up for like being experimental, like in artistic practice and stuff. But I'm also like, no, I want you to draw the pretty animation. Anyway, back to you, Lucy.
It's your question, Ella.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it is. Okay, what would you say the main sort of themes are in your work, if you could describe a few?
Yeah, I mean, sounding a bit like a broken record, but I like horror. I like drawing anything that kind of makes you feel uncomfortable in your body and comfortable in your skin. But then, like, I guess on the other end of the spectrum, I've got a real soft spot for just drawing fish that look really nice and illustrating them with a lot of love. Yeah, I guess there's not really a unifying theme, which isn't a very satisfying answer to the question, but
No, that's okay. I think it's good.
Most
to
people have answered that way, to be fair.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone sticks to a specific theme consistently for like the entirety of their artistic practice. I think people generally flip from one thing to another. But I do love how yours are at complete opposite ends of the spectrum. It's like pretty nature drawings and then like gore, blood, and creepy, disturbing stuff.
Yeah, I guess like I was saying earlier, I think it's just my attention span's just shot. So some of it's just fan art of the last video game I've been playing, and then it will just be right after that something from a dream, and then just, you know, I've remembered that birds are pretty and I want to draw them.
While you mentioned that shall we? I want to quickly divulge into some video game stuff because I know that you enjoy it. I just want to like get maybe like, I don't know, top 3 at the minute, top 3 ever, whatever you want to give us.
Ooh, just like off the top of my head, ones I really like. Binding of Isaac is one for me. It's a roguelike where you're a little crying baby trapped in a basement and you just keep kind of exploring, you know, down and down, darker and darker, fighting all these weird little mutant versions of yourself. It's a real sort of time hole. And also, like a lot of roguelites, it's one where you'll kind of hate yourself most of the time you're playing it, and you'll be calling the game stupid, dumb, and saying like it's cheating and stuff. But it's a good one. That's Binding of Isaac. I played Disco Elysium recently.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, it's so good, and that one's very narrative based, and it's quite interesting because it's like an RPG, but most of it goes on in your own head, and your stats are just kind of different parts of your psyche. So like you're wandering around and you're talking to people, and it's a detective thing, so you are trying to like solve this case, but then a lot of it's just you kind of thinking and figuring things out about yourself and the world around you. So that one's quite cool. And then I've also got a big soft spot for this indie game developer called Kitty Horror Show. And I wouldn't really pick out one particular game of hers because they're all quite brief, and they do all have this kind of very similar tone and theme, but they all tend to be sort of horror-based walking sims. You know, either that's your bag or it's not. I really love them. Anatomy is a really good one of hers, which I think might be free on itch.io. If it's not, it's only a few quid, and I really recommend it.
Cool. You strike me as somebody who likes weird games, so I guess you've played like Suda51 games and what's the other one, Swery as well.
I haven't actually, because I've never had a console. I know you can get them running on PC, but I'm always, you know, because I've just got my crappy little laptop, I'm always kind of 5 years behind when it comes to video games, even though some of them are quite old now. And what are your favourites from that studio?
So my favourite Swery game is Deadly Premonition.
Oh shit, no, I have played that. I played that recently.
It's absolutely fucking
oh my god, yeah.
Ella, you play a detective which has a split personality. And because you've got a split personality, you're like talking to yourself, like going, "This seems really strange, doesn't it, Leo?" And
oh my god, that sounds amazing.
So bizarre, but also you're like, there's a scene in it where you're simultaneously driving, using a laptop, on the phone, and smoking in a brainstorm.
That sounds insane.
It's fucking mad. And then my favourite Suda51 game is Lollipop Chainsaw because it's just so twee and like mad.
Yeah, that one looked really fun.
And then my favourite video game ever is Fallout New Vegas. Because, you know, I'm trans.
I wish I could claim to be cool and say that I've played video games, but I haven't. I used to be really obsessed with Little Big Planet.
That's a cute one though.
I do, yeah. I like the idea of playing video games, but I just feel like I've got like a whole list of things I want to do in life, and like I just feel like I never make time to do them, but I would like to get into gaming. I also used to love The Sims, if that counts. I used to adore The Sims.
I think that counts. I still play it.
Yeah, that's still a game. It's more of a time hole than a game.
Yeah, well, I remember it's such a devastating moment. Like I've been playing it for ages, and then I don't know how, but I managed to like get enough money to buy like this horror house mansion which I could like go and live in. And I was so excited. I was like, I'm gonna move into the mansion. I walked past it loads of times, and then like the game crashed, or like my account, there's something happened with my account, and I lost the horror house.
That was the horror. That was the curse.
Yeah, and I think I did actually stop playing Sims after that. It was tough blow.
I've definitely had that where like a bad loss or crash has just made me be like, no.
Yeah,
That's that for that one.
I had that. I used to be quite good at Pokemon back in the day. 6th in Europe. Not to toot my own horn.
6th in Europe.
So I've had 16th in Europe. Yeah.
Oh, that's impressive.
Not bad.
So I had it I had it a few times where it was just like one misplay or one like bit of just luck or bad luck. I was like, no, done now, quitting, bye.
Yeah, I feel like that's the same with anything though. Like I feel like I'll get like really into something like a phase or an aesthetic or like an art, and I'll like throw myself into it, but then like something will really piss me off or I'll get really frustrated and I'll be like, actually, you know what, no, that can just fuck off now.
I think another thing with kind of getting into video games is a lot of people who are already into it talk about it like it's just entertainment, and it is, but it's also a skill, and I think that can be quite intimidating when you're completely new to it.
Yeah.
I've never got into like first person shooters. That's like a legitimate skill I just don't have, and like I'm so jealous of watching all these people play Resident Evil 8 with the big tall booby lady. I can't do that.
Yeah. Resident Evil used to terrify me. Like I never played it, but my stepdad played Resident Evil all the time, so I used to go and sit with him and watch it because like I love horror movies. So I used to go and watch him, and it's sort of like a story as well. Although I will say that the female character in it really annoyed me because they made her really annoying, and literally all she said throughout the whole video game was "Leo, help me," and I was like,
"Oh, that's Resident Evil 4."
Yeah, and she kept getting kidnapped all the time. Like, literally, what you do,
that's the joke.
Kidnapped like 3 times. But I remember like once he was like, "Do you want to have a go?" And he left the room, and I was like, I was just walking around. I was in like the safe. I think it was the zombie or like the tentacle head things. And I was walking around the room. I was like, "Okay, this is safe. I'm away from the zombies." And I accidentally opened a door, and all these zombies came rushing through. And I literally like threw the remote across the room and almost broke it because I was so terrified.
I would suggest you never ever look at Resident Evil 7 because there is a portion in that game where a woman fires bees out of her vagina.
Well, that doesn't sound scary. That just sounds...
Oh no, it's terrifying.
Sounds like a free-for-all.
You immediately just like, no, I could do it.
No, it's really unsettling.
I mean, there is something that's just so much more intense when you're playing it rather than watching it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of watching it, we're going to be setting up a Twitch channel for the Women's Workshop. Nice. So if anybody wants to watch me play games, or if anybody even wants to jump on one day and play and run the Twitch channel for a day and have some time playing video games for people, just DM us.
What are you planning to play first?
I think first I'm gonna go through Mass Effect because I'm gonna buy the Legendary Edition. I'm gonna do all 3 games.
Would you take like viewer input for like the choices and stuff, or would we be watching your game? I'd
probably try and do it the way I wanted to, but like some like inconsequential stuff like the name. I'd even do Monster Factory settings where I'd be like, when I'm designing the face of the character, I'd just let the chat choose the numbers. Yeah,
that would be cool actually. Because like, aren't you stuck with that for like the entire series? Because you like import your guy across, don't you? I've never played it.
The entire series.
That would be pretty fun.
I love watching people's commentaries on video games, like on YouTube. Like I don't know why. I just find it like a lot more soothing to watch someone talking themselves through it rather than just watching it like by myself because I get scared easily.
They can be really, especially for a game that has like a lot of history, like there can be so much to say. Like I watched a playthrough of Silent Hill 1 where the person would like, I mean, it's long watching a playthrough of something, it's several hours, but they'd sort of pause at some points and just talk for ages about a particular detail or sprite or story element. Like, there can be a lot to it.
One of the few people I watch on YouTube, Many a True Nerd, does like weird challenge runs. So he did like Fallout 3 without ever healing once, Fallout 4, but he's not allowed to use guns. But he also does like grand strategy games, like he did Civilization, but he's not allowed to produce anything.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Lucy.
I do like one stuff like that where like there's like the parameters you set are so stupid, like it's like a whole extra game doing it, but then also, you know, planning it and seeing if it's even possible as well. I just think that's quite cool.
I think going into video game design would be such a cool skill to have, because also there's so many jobs in video game design at the moment. Like when I was looking for jobs, I mean, I literally have no knowledge of like video game or design, but I was literally looking at someone. I was like, do you think I could get like a job there as like a concept character person or something? And there was this really cool one in Cornwall called Antimatter Games, and it just looked so much fun. Like you get to like design characters and come up with storylines and stuff. But I think, yeah, if you want to be an actual video game designer, you have to have like quite a lot of training and all of like the software and stuff. But I guess you could probably teach yourself how to do it.
Also, I have a friend that writes for a video game company, and she doesn't know much about like coding or anything. They kind of hired her just on the basis of her writing. So I think it does depend like on the size of the company and how involved you'd be in the actual kind of design part of it.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the next question, I just want to be like, anybody who argues this point, some games are art, some games are not. That's the end of the argument.
That sounds like it shouldn't be controversial, but it is.
Yeah. I will level with people. FIFA isn't art. Metal Gear Solid might be close to art.
But FIFA has art assets.
It does have art assets. Let's not argue anymore. Let's
just leave that there.
So it's time for the question that we ask everybody that comes on the podcast. Has being a woman affected you within the art industry or within just like you being an artist? And like, have you found it to be like dominated or equal for you being a woman?
I think for me personally, not particularly. Where like I kind of started off just learning art in like an academic setting at GCSE in college, it was quite female dominated anyway, because that's kind of how those things are at that age when you're kind of just like you know, picking out your options for A-level or whatever. And then since then, because of sort of mostly posting on DeviantArt and then Instagram, I've never made a secret of the fact I'm a woman, but it's also not like front and center of my work either. So I'm quite lucky in that I've not really like, you know, had any obstacles in front of me or any harassment that I've been aware of. That doesn't mean it hasn't taken place. And in fact, the only time that I really feel like it's come up has been when you reached out for your ugly art competition and I met you guys, which was like a pretty overwhelmingly positive experience. But then like, you know, it's as I've kind of said throughout the whole thing, I'm primarily a hobbyist, and I think these things kind of only emerge when you're kind of fighting a bit more, kind of trying to get a bit more recognition and power over your work. And I think if you're in a position where you don't need those things, you're happy enough without them, you kind of get shielded from a lot of the nastier side of that thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird because we asked this question to all of our like interviewees who come on, and every single person has said like they haven't really experienced any sort of like discrimination, and it's been like positive, which is a really good thing. And we had a conversation last week about the fact that art education, like in schools and universities, is predominantly female. Like every single person on my art course was a girl, and to be fair, everyone was a girl on my A-level art course, but it was a girls' school, so that doesn't really count. But I said to Imi, I think possibly it's because a lot of the artists we interview are sort of like Instagram based and stuff, and I think there's a lot of negative communities on Instagram, but there's like loads of positive communities as well. So I feel like if you fall into the right community, you do often have a positive experience. But I think the actual art world, like sort of like the professional kind of pretentious exhibition world and stuff, probably is more sexist because it's more like exhibitions don't exhibit as many female artists, and it's more like having the opportunities once you decide to become like a professional and like do it full time and things like that. So I think maybe that's the reason, but I mean, I'm glad everyone's had like a really positive experience, but I think possibly it's to do with being out in the industry that has negative effects.
Yeah, I mean, when it makes sense that it's when it becomes more kind of corporate and formal that those issues start cropping up. Because kind of like I was sort of trying to get at earlier, I think it's a lot of the time sexism emerges when people are sort of either threatened or challenged by the idea of women being in power or just taking agency over their work. And, you know, when you're just posting online, you know, it's just your page and you're posting on it. People like it or they don't. You're not really challenging people in that way.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I'm really glad that everyone's had a really good experience. And I think as well, I have found like social media to be really, really positive in terms of like sort of like feminist groups and art groups and things. But I think it's because we sort of make it very clear that all the like trolls and haters really aren't welcome, so they don't creep up as often. I mean, obviously there'll be the occasional dickhead, but like apart from that, I think most of the people who want to be in that community are genuinely interested in the topic and the people in it. So it's generally like quite positive.
And people online are very easy to remove as well if they do act up.
Yeah, I think it's really weird how this is completely unrelated tangent, but I find it really weird how like people you meet like online who you don't necessarily know that well, or like you've spoken to a few times on the phone, how like you could just delete them or you could like lose their contact details and they're just like gone. Because one of my really, really good friends who I met at uni, I literally only had her Facebook or something, but we were really good friends. It's just we didn't like, I don't really call people that much anymore. I just message them on Messenger. And she moved back to France, so I hadn't heard from her in a couple of months, and I tried to contact her and she'd like come off Facebook, and I was literally like, fuck, she's like literally one of my best friends, and I have no way of contacting her because I don't know how to find her because she's not on social media. Like, it's just such a weird concept that social media has become such a like crutch for like keeping in touch with people and being connected to people.
But then I guess before then, you'd have just like mislaid your address book and been like, oh, well, that's the school friend's gone.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so weird how we don't even really use phones anymore. Like the reason you have a phone, like, I barely ever use my phone to make calls. Like occasionally, you know, well, I'll like call my mom or my dad or like my family or whatever, but most of the time it's just like texting people on social media, which is good for the phone bill. But it's just weird how it's changed, hasn't it? Because I was looking back at like, you know, the phones from the early 2000s, you know, like the flip phones and the Nokia phones. Like,
you remember landlines? Do you remember landlines?
We still have a landline at home.
No, I've never had one. My parents still have theirs, but I've never had one anywhere I've lived.
No, neither have I. What's the fucking point? I've got one in my pocket.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't think I've ever called my parents' landline though. Like, there isn't really a need for them anymore. But I was like,
have their landline just so they can take spam calls, so that spam calls don't go to the mobiles.
Oh, I guess it's not spam, but like scam calls they quite like, because you can lead them on and come up with a little narrative. That's always quite fun.
I used to pretend to be a scammer that was calling them.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, for work, we have all these clients, and basically they have like contact forms on their website, so I have to like go through the contact forms and get rid of all the spam. And honestly, I come across some of the funniest stuff on there. Like, I came across one the other day. It was like my very rich uncle has died and I needed to get in contact with you to discuss his estate of like $5 million. And like, I literally don't even know what the narrative was, but it was like this rich person had died and basically we need to organize for you to get your check from this like rich uncle who's died. But like, that's so funny. I literally don't know, the people who are typing them don't even bother to come up with a cohesive plot.
So I suggest you to go onto YouTube and look at James Veach, because his whole thing is replying back to him and leading them on and getting them to waste their time so they don't message anybody else.
Is that the guy who uses like a voice changer sometimes and does like characters and stuff?
I have no idea, but I know that he led on a apparently Nigerian prince and was like, can we use code words? From now on, the bank is the gummy bear and the money is the snake. The money is now chocolate bar, and he's like, I need to put the chocolate bar into the gummy bear.
But anyway, moving back to the art-related questions, although I do enjoy our tangents. What are your sort of plans for future art projects at the moment? Have you got anything you're looking forward to or you want to work on?
I guess there's only a couple of things, 3 things actually that I'm definitely gonna do. One is my friend Momo asked me to draw a portrait of him. Momo, if you're listening, I am actually gonna do it. I know that was nearly a year ago now. I promise it will happen. Secondly, was going to try and illustrate a short story I wrote called Leeches, about snorting leeches. Not in like a sequential comic book way, because I've already explained that's for people with a lot more patience and talent than me, but I kind of like the idea. It's kind of self-indulgent, but of just doing my own kind of hypothetical book covers. I think that would be quite fun. And then the last thing that I've been working on for quite a long time and will probably never be finished is a dating sim in quotation marks called Sad Boy Simulator.
Oh, yes.
You don't fuck anyone, you're a sad boy. It's not quite an incel thing, it's just about a kind of 30s adult going to a high school reunion and realizing they don't have anything in common with anyone.
I fucking love that. I have this big thing for like parody dating sims, and that feels right up my street. Have you ever played Panzermädels?
No, what's that one?
It's a dating sim, but all the girls are tanks.
Oh, it sounds a bit like the pigeon one, where it's like it's a dating sim, but the boys are pigeons.
And then there's the one called Cat President, where you date the cat and you try and get the cat to become the president of the United States of America.
Sounds like an episode of BoJack Horseman, but like way more weird.
There's also one, Stay Republic of Korea, where you go to North Korea and you date North Korean army girls.
Oh, that's cute. I like that. I don't know. There's something sort of serious and funny about them, because obviously, like, they're all like overtly jokes, but you still play them and you still spend a lot of time playing them. And I like watched my friend play that stupid pigeon one, and we started playing it as a joke, but by the end, she was pretty invested in all the choices she was making.
If you're a fan of the jokes as well, I suggest Sakura Swim Club, because that is not only jokes, but also just full on, like, tits out, like, graphic nudity.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So when can we expect this to be finished so we can all play it?
Oh man, never. Because I want to like do the illustrations, and I've got like dating things aren't too hard to program. You can get kind of what do you call it? Like software that pretty much does all of it for you if you have all of the text and the drawings and sound effects. But right now it's just writing it, because there's all these kind of branching paths. Even though I'm not taking it into like hugely different narrative directions, I want the conversations to be able to go on little kind of tangents. And I'm just finding it very confusing to write. If anyone's written a dating sim or something like that before and has any tips, I would love to hear them, because right now I just have a color-coded Word document that just makes less sense every time I open it up.
Skillshare.
It sounds amazing.
Skillshare, probably.
You should make the narratives like really random, like have like a normal conversation and then get to a bit where it's just like, do you have pickles on your sandwich? Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I could make out like that's some big psychological profiling thing. I don't actually have to deliver on it.
Have you heard of a spirograph plot before?
No.
So spirograph plots are where you do lots and lots and lots of stuff, but you ultimately go nowhere.
So it's not they all go to the same place, they just kind of all peter out.
They all just stop.
I don't know why, but that kind of reminds me, did any of you used to read those choose your own adventure books just from cover to cover and pretend it was a weird, nonsensical story?
I've got a big thing to admit here. I'm probably going to cut it out, but I used to do choose your own adventure porn.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's basically what you would have had to do before a dating sim.
Yeah. So yeah, that was something that I grew up with. That's how I had my sexual awakening.
It's like lucid dreaming, but just like virtually.
Yeah. Because I didn't understand video porn, so I had to read it because I have an imagination.
So were you actually, was this totally analog? Were you writing it down on like pen and paper, or were you doing
No. There's websites that exist.
Oh, cool.
And I would just read somebody else's predetermined story and just choose their own adventure. God, I'm embarrassed.
I feel like there really needs to be like better porn online, because genuinely, like, some of the porn is just fucking awful. Like, I went on to Literotica, and what the fuck is up with all the like crazy incestuous shit at the moment? There's so much. I literally have to scroll to page 10 to get something that's like not incestuous. I'm like, it does not turn me on to read about a stepmom sleeping with her 16-year-old. Like, oh, it's weird.
Also, they don't always tag it, so I'll be reading something relatively vanilla, and then there's like a new paragraph, and it's like, and then the dog walked in, and you're just like, oh
no.
No, thank you.
There's some which just like don't even set up a story, and it's just like, yeah, we're raw dogging, and I'm like, no, tell me why. Give me context. Context gets me off, nothing else.
See, there's context, and then there's like you know, like these insanely in-depth character descriptions where it will tell you someone's height and which university they graduated from, and you're just like, that, okay, that's a bit mental.
That reminds me of My Immortal. Have you ever read it?
Yeah, like all the descriptions of the outfits.
Yeah, oh my god.
Oh, wait. Was this the, what was this fan fiction of again?
Harry Potter. But they're all girls.
Oh my goodness, wait, the vampire Harry Potter thing.
Yeah,
he's literally called a vampire.
It's so funny, genuinely. I used to cry with laughter reading it. Paragraphs about going to like what was the concert she like referenced a billion times?
Good Charlotte. No. Yeah, it's Good Charlotte.
No, there was another one she referenced. I can't remember, but she just used to go into so much detail about like what she was wearing and like how long her hair was and how sparkly her eyes were. And I'm not gonna lie though, I lived for that fan fiction. It was actually.
Have you looked at the backstory of it?
I know there's like debate about who wrote it, or did they get to the bottom of that?
So there's like, if you look into like the debate of who wrote it, it ends up going to like Bible fan fiction and like somebody like several million stock accounts of just the same guy taking like and ripping into himself and like being really horrible to himself. It's so like spider web.
No, I thought they found who did it. I thought it was a girl, because I'm sure there was like a whole thing that came out about her like writing it.
Yeah, that turned out to be a lie.
Oh, what? So she just claimed that it was hers? So no one knows who wrote it?
Nobody knows for sure.
Oh my god, someone needs to come forward and claim that right now. Like, I want to see the face behind that absolute, it's just iconic.
Sarah Zad, the YouTuber, has done 2 like half-an-hour in-depth like investigations into who wrote My Immortal, and she's like, I've spent 6 months of my life reading into this, and I have ultimately to show you absolutely fuck all.
Oh, wow. It's so weird because you have it drilled into you, and with good reason, that like the things you put on the internet, you know, you can't take them back. They're kind of there forever, and you know, to be careful. So it kind of almost freaks you out when you're like, what, things can just disappear? It was on the internet. Once it had a timestamp and came from an IP and stuff, how can it just be gone?
Yeah. The Wayback Machine is a dangerous thing. Never go and never use it.
Why not?
Because you can end up like going back and seeing like all the websites that were deleted and stuff. It just essentially, there is a timestamp and it still exists in the code of the internet, and it just basically sends your browser back in time.
I've definitely used it for things before and been really disappointed that there's no pickies.
I found the old Bionicle website and I was very happy.
What? Oh, that's crazy.
The Matanui online game still exists. You just need to use the Wayback Machine.
I remember playing that now. That was a strange direction that Lego went in.
Oh, it was bloody beautiful though. The sound design, story. Oh my god. Anyway, it's time to move on to the Hall of Fame.
Nice.
So we'll have a quick break and then we'll jump in. So, the Hall of Fame segment. It's you have your opportunity to induct one of your favourite people. Doesn't have to be an artist. Doesn't have to be a real person, I think. Anybody that inspires you into the Hall of Fame. So, Lucy, who have you picked?
Okay, I'm picking an artist who I first found on this random Facebook album that was shared, and it was this sort of I guess comic. It was like sort of, you know in like Facebook albums, like they'll have like a little story, and it was these like kind of gross, desaturated, 3D rendered people all in a house having this kind of existential identity fuckery. And that person was only known as 918. They are known by that on Tumblr as well, I think, and on Instagram. So I don't really know anything about them. I just know that they make this very uncomfortable, mostly 3D rendered art that manages to be very ugly and mundane, but quite captivating at the same time.
I'm looking at by Tumblr now. It's X918X.
Yes, it's all variants of 918 on their various social media things. I think Instagram is person 918X.
Yeah, there's a lot about noise music on here, so I feel like I'm going to quite enjoy them.
Yeah, the music's quite cool. I actually only listened to it for the first time last night when I was trying to work out who the fuck they were, and I didn't manage to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the music's quite cool. It's like I guess uncomfortable vaporwave, I'd describe it as.
Yeah, it's giving me big like floral shop vibes.
Mm.
I very much enjoy this. Like, there's this picture here I've just found, which is just the shopping cart outside of a house, and it's really unsettling.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I'm sorry all of your insides got stolen. I brought you some cereal.
That makes it better.
That's the best thing I've seen.
But like, I liked it because there's obviously a lot of these that have like a overt kind of creepypasta or body horror vibe, but then there's ones like the shopping cart one, or this one of just like a load of boxes and a fan that kind of remind me more of just a random horrible desaturated photograph from like the 80s or early 90s you'd find behind a sofa.
Yeah, very much Reddit cursed images vibe.
Yes, that's exactly it actually.
Oh my god, I just love the inconsistency of the content. Like, there's one here which is like, good buddy worms be like, god meat tastes better when you eat it with a friend.
And it does.
I love shit like this. Lucy, are you by any chance watcher of Strange Aeons on YouTube?
No, but I will be. Was it Strange Aeons?
Yeah. So we talked about her last week and her long Furby. So she has a Tinder.
I follow a long Furby person. I wonder if they're related.
So she has a Tinder profile for her long Furby, in which she just literally asks people for their teeth.
Did they ever give them?
No.
Oh.
I'm surprised by that. I would have thought there would be a few teeth givers.
One of them was like, "Can I have your spine, please? I need it, for I am a long Furby and need more spine."
I didn't realize that this making your Furby really long was an entire subculture.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Anyway, we've done our long Furby tangent. That was last week.
Well,
I guess... Oh, carry on.
No, I was just gonna say I absolutely love your pick. Like, I don't think we've had anyone who's chosen something so horror-y before. So
something so anonymous as well.
I just love like mysteries, but I always want, it really stresses me out when I don't know like who someone is. Like, yeah, I appreciate the mystery, but also I just want to know who the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would like to know more about them, but
I'm just so intrigued. I'm like, where are they? Who are they? Is it even a person? Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just like a computer that's gotten super, super clever.
If that's an algorithm, that algorithm's really fucked up.
If that's an algorithm, the person that wrote it is still an artist, and thank you 918. Whether you're a coder or a master at Blender. There was actually the only thing I could find that was like, it didn't really give much away about their life or identity, but they did mention on one of their Tumblr posts that they started off, I can't remember the name of the software, but it wasn't like Blender or Daz. The thing they started off making all these 3D renders on was just some like shitty Windows 95 architecture simulator.
The only thing that I've seen on their Tumblr that says anything about their identity is that they're English.
Oh, that's why everything's grey and gross looking and miserable. Cool. At least that makes sense now. But like, yeah, I recommend going on their Facebook and checking out the slightly more narrative sequential ones. Like they are a ride. You might even have seen some of them before because they tend to do the rounds on Facebook occasionally.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Is there anyone else who is one of your favourite artists? Like any other artists you want to throw in the mix?
give a shout out?
There's one more. My friend Anne, who's a lockdown friend, I met through a Discord server, when we were all trapped indoors and socializing that way. Her Instagram is Poi Makes, but she just kind of does everything, and she's a really wonderful person, and she's one of those people that just sort of absorbs things and learns things and puts all these things out. I made a game with her for a game jam that didn't go very well, but it was very fun, and she was doing a lot of the backdrops and stuff, and she always just has this like amazing way of tackling a subject. So she does all these crazy collages. She uses like Blender or Krita to make all these like kind of, she calls them photo bangs, but collages. And for this game we were working on together to make the backdrops for this house, she was doing stuff like carving little potatoes up to make the chairs, setting them on fire, wrapping them in tin foil, and it ended up looking just completely unique. I couldn't, like, the actual game fell apart, but the look and feel of it couldn't have been any better. So that's my friend Anne, and she's Poi Makes on Instagram. You should check her out.
So, next segment?
Yeah, next segment.
Yeah, let's have a little break.
Okay. So, Lucy, what is the big topic or question that you want to explore with us this evening?
You've made that sound like something a preacher should be answering.
No, it can literally be anything. Like, you could start with a word or a topic or a theme or anything you just are interested in.
I mean, I'm more just worried about sounding like a broken record, but I keep talking about horror, and there's a reason for it. I recently just kind of, with some friends, we were all writing out our top, 10 films, and I realized all of mine, they either had some kind of horror, either body horror or to do with identity. And I guess I do like horror, just not because it's like something that can gross you out or make you feel very visceral or make you throw your controller across the room because Heather won't stop shouting for Leon. But it's also just a good way of examining yourself and what makes you you. I think especially body horror, because like there's nothing else that can make you more appreciative of your current form than seeing it kind of destroyed in that way. Like, I never normally think about the fact that I have 2 working legs, 2 working eyes and ears, but like when you're seeing something like The Thing and things are, sort of sprawling out in all directions and getting kind of bloody and gutsy in that way, you're very aware of like, your status and form as a person. And I think that's something very special that you can really only get through art.
I think, are you interested in like endurance art?
What? So my brain just went to like David Blaine.
Yeah, well, kind of. I'm really annoyed because I thought of this really cool artist. I'm gonna have to send him to you later, but he basically does this stuff called endurance art, which is sort of performative, but he literally sort of like injures himself as performance.
Oh, cool.
Like he'll like cut, and I think he does use some fake blood, but he also does like cut himself and stuff. But
I'm sorry, like the Pain Men from like the Pain Men from Balls of Steel.
I have no idea what that is.
They used to like staple themselves to filing cabinets and stuff like that.
What? What is that?
Yeah. Oh, it's back in the day when Dirty Sanchez and like Jackass was a thing. That people used to just like put themselves into hilarious pain for entertainment.
Kind of, except not quite as comical. It's definitely a lot more sort of like dark light, spotlight, guy in a room like dragging chains across his chest and like that sort of thing. Like it's very much like body horror at its not worst. I mean, I love body horror, but yeah, are you interested in that sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. So what kind of, like, I just wonder how you get into that. Have you ever like read up on how he ended up there?
Yes, I did research him quite a while ago, but I can't remember. I don't know. I think it just starts off as like performance art. So, you know, you might start off doing stuff like standing in a gallery for hours on end and letting people poke you or something like that. Or I'm trying to think of some examples. Like, do you know Valley Export?
No, I don't.
So that's VALIEEXPORT. She was this performance artist in the 1970s. I wouldn't say she was endurance, but she did stuff like she put this cardboard box on her chest and stood in the street and just let like men and women come up and fondle her. But she did loads of other stuff as well, like very sort of like performative, like pushing the body to the limits, exploring, kind of almost like degrading the body in a way, like in a sort of abject way. But I guess that's how people would start off with endurance stuff like that.
I think I found the guy you were talking about.
Does it begin with an R?
No, it begins with an A.
Close enough.
What's his name?
Abel Azcona.
Oh no, that's not the one I was thinking of. But you talk about him or her. I'm just going to try and find who this guy was I was thinking of.
So Abel Azcona did this thing where he stood on a plinth, like in a museum, and basically just stood still all day, and he was there for 48 hours.
Oh wow.
And it was sort of about just like looking at how he sort of slowly went mad and got weaker, looking at mental illness and stuff like that. And then another person I just found is I can't pronounce this at all. I'll spell it out. TEHCHINGHSIEH.
Oh yeah.
Taching, nope, who did a year-long piece which was just horrible. He spent a year tied to a woman.
Oh my god. Oh wait, what was he called? Oh, I found the guy I was talking about.
Taching Haish, I think is the guy I'm talking about.
I understand why it's horrible, but there's just one candid and kind of cute picture of the two of them together when you Google his name. It doesn't quite bring that across.
The guy I was thinking of is called Ron Athey, RONATHEY. And yeah, literally he does the like body mutilation, kind of whacking himself. It's kind of like
it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, it is. I was just about to say that it's very BDSM, but like in a performance sort of way. But the thing is, I think he actually has HIV. So at his performances, I think he does have to use a lot of fake blood and be like kept behind screens and stuff. But yeah, no, I find that sort of stuff really interesting. Like I quite like the pushing the body to its limits sort of thing. But yeah, I guess you just start by like doing really small things, you know, like performance art could be anything. Like you could just stand in the street and like drop notes for people to pick up and then watch their reactions.
Yeah,
I was kind of worried when I asked that you were going to say, you know, how does it start? What day? And then next thing you know, you're suspended in hooks.
Yeah, I think I'd have to work myself up to something like that. I don't think I'd be very good at endurance art. I'm all about the fake gore, love the fake gore, but I don't know if I could do the actual.
My brother and his friends, when they were teenagers, used to like, after they'd taken the spoon out of tea, used to hold it down on their hands for as long as possible, and whoever took it off first had to pay the winner a certain amount of money.
I think I've done that at work and I've really bored. Not the actual game, just being like, you know what would make this more fun?
Yeah.
I think people, like, you do it to an extent, like, as a sort of game. Like, you know, what's it called? Like, Knuckles, that's it. Yeah, even that is sort of like an endurance test, and I was shit at it. I'm really bad. Literally, I get like one knock on the knuckle and I'm out. Yeah, oh my god. Or like, even like Chinese burns. Like, do you remember when that was a thing? Like, people used to go around giving each other, like, Chinese burns.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I don't know, I feel like it's something you either want to do or you don't, or maybe some people do just wake up one day and they're like, you know what, yeah, let's just like see what happens when I start slicing myself in the name of performance.
I do think it's interesting that not all kids, but some kids have such a drive to do those things, like, you know, in the tiny, on that tiny little scale. And I kind of wonder if it's like, I don't know, anything to do with that, or if he sort of ended up doing these things in a kind of different way.
Yeah, but I think body horror can be done in quite a lot of different ways. I mean, endurance art is just like one aspect of it, but what other things have you seen in body horror that you really like?
Yeah, going back to like kind of the other theme I'm interested in, it's a good way to explore identity, I think, because by making something kind of more abject and unrecognizable, and yet also meant to be a person, or maybe even meant to be you, it can kind of force you to ask a lot of questions, and to do so in that kind of jolting, sort of horrified way.
Yeah, like showing yourself something so hyper realistic and also like graphic that it makes you look at like the actual realistic part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, you carry on.
I was just gonna say, I think it can be done like in a very, I mean, I'm not saying endurance art is like obvious in a bad way, but I think you can do it in a way that's very much like you'd look at it and you'd think it was horror. And I think you can do it in ways that are sort of subtle, like sort of unsettling. Like I looked at this other artist, Lulaf0rtune, and she did this project where she created another identity for herself, Roberta Brightmore, and it was like her alter ego sort of thing, but she literally like lived as that person. So she like rented apartments in that name, like she got credit cards in that name, and she got like someone, she hired like a private investigator to follow around Roberta Brightmore, who was her, and like take pictures of her like sitting on park benches and like going about her life, and she had like a whole disguise and everything. And I don't know, there's something quite unsettling about it in a way.
Those pictures then.
Hmm?
If you use those pictures of art, does the PI own the pictures? Is it his art or is it her art?
I don't know. I think she did use it as like at the end of like the year or something. She created like this whole exhibition full of like sketchbooks, but she sort of presented it as if it were kind of like an investigation, like someone had been spying on her.
Similar to what you were saying, there's a trans artist who I forget their name, but their whole thing is finding old pictures of them before they transitioned and setting fire to them, and that's they'll find a picture of him, blow it up to a massive size, and then their entire thing is that'll be in the gallery for like 5 minutes, and then she'll go in and set fire to it disguised.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I love that. But
I love the idea that in theory is a project that could be completed, you know, like there's only so many photos out there, and yet it's also kind of insurmountable. That's quite cool.
I really like the idea of sort of destroying things as an art kind of medium. You know, like creating something, like the idea of spending a lot of time creating something, but then like the actual exhibition or the actual final project is you like burning it to pieces, or like distorting it or melting it. Like I used to do in my A-levels, I used to blowtorch like plastic baby heads and stuff. Like I remember, honestly, it's so weird because my art teacher had to get a blowtorch for me, and then we were like stood outside the school like holding this baby head, like blowtorching it and watching it melt. But I quite like that idea of like it's taking away from the actual artisticness in a way.
Yeah.
It's just like building something only to tear it down. I quite like that.
Right.
There's a video I saw recently of an artist called, I'm on their YouTube now, it's Nana82563, and it was just this time lapse of them doing this absolutely gigantic kind of really intricate sort of swirl type drawing, and it goes on for like 10 minutes, and at the end they burn it, and it hurts. You just kind of watch it like, oh man.
Right. My laptop's about to die, so shall we wrap it up?
Oh yes, that's fine. I also need to send you I need to send you loads of art recommendations, because I've literally got a whole list of like abject artists that you will love. So Lucy, thank you so much for coming on today. It was so nice to chat with you and go off on a billion tangents and talk about all your interests. Where can people find you online if they want to look at your artwork or just have a chat with you?
I post all my art on Instagram mostly, and it's Lulaf0rtune, one word but with the O as a 0. So LULAF0RTUNE.
Okay, perfect. And you can find us at the women's_workshop. If anyone wants to come on a podcast, and also enter our competition. This also goes for you, Lucy. We're doing a competition at the moment on sort of what does being a woman in the arts mean to you. It's kind of an interpretive piece. But if you want to do it, the prize is that we'll commission you to do our logo for our podcast.
Oh, that's so cool.
So if you want to enter, and if anyone else wants to enter who's listening, then please feel free.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for having me.
It was an absolute pleasure. It was so nice to talk to you. And that's all we have to say.
Yeah. So it's just see you next week, where we will have a different guest.
Who we don't.
Oh, awful.
Okay, let's just.
Why don't we just all shout girl power?
Just fuck it. Let's just leave it in.
Okay, fuck it. Goodbye. Yeah. Thank you. Have a good whatever night it is for you. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Good girl power.